What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Picks and Roll DFS. Yesterday's sweep didn't go our way, but like the Mercury after game one, we're bouncing back today with discipline and a sharper approach. Here's your bankroll tip for you. In the playoffs, variance runs higher. Players keep the same roles, but rotations tighten, pressure rises, and results swing harder than usual. That's why staying cautious and disciplined is key. Don't overextend your bankroll. And remember the zigzag theory. After a poor performance, teams and players often bounce back strong the next game. That's what we're targeting today. Our first play for today is going to be Natasha Cloud going higher than 7.5 rebounds plus assists. Now, as always, we want to see that line movement and line comparison. So we can see that this line opened at 8.5, and it's going between 8 and 7.5, and it's currently lying at that 7.5. And we want to take advantage of that while it's here. Then, looking at line comparisons, we can see that on ESPN Bet, they have this line favored at minus 165. FanDuel, minus 146, which we know that is considered our sharp book when it comes to WNBA props. And then Underdog has this favorite at minus 180. Even PrizePicks has this favorite at minus 137, making it a goblin on their app. Now, if we look at Natasha Cloud's last 20, we can see that she's cashed this line 13 out of 20 games for a 65% rate, averaging 8.3 and a median of 9 in those games in terms of rebounds and assists. Then, if we look at the 2025 season as a whole, very similar data. She's cashed this line 27 out of 42 games for a 64% rate, having an average of nearly 9 and a median at 9 as well, which are both above our line for today at 7.5. Then, while we know that Phoenix's defense is great, if we look at how their rebounds allowed and assists allowed to guards, we can see that they are ranked 8th, which is neutral for us. So this is one of those few stats that aren't in the unfavorable section when it comes to Phoenix and their defense, which is a great sign for us and adds to the probability and likelihood of this play cashing. Additionally, we can see, we didn't mention the head-to-head, which is also extremely important, and we can see that in this season alone, she's cleared this line in 4 out of 5 games, and with her playmaking role locked in, I like her to stay active on the glass and as a facilitator. We can see that she's getting significant minutes, especially in the playoffs. Last game, although there was that overtime, she still played extended minutes, getting 39 in that time frame. We also want to keep in mind that Breanna Stewart's playing time is up in the air. Obviously, Natasha Cloud isn't replacing Breanna Stewart, but I'm just saying that could possibly lend to more rebound opportunities for someone like Natasha Cloud, who is aggressive on the boards, which is why I like her at this line of higher than 7.5 rebounds plus assists. Now, if you are rocking with these plays, drop a like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss the daily breakdowns. Our second play for today is going to be Sabrina Ionescu going lower than 2.5 3-pointers made. Now, when we start to look at this data, this one may feel risky, but look deeper. We can see that Sabrina averages she averages under 2 3-pointers per game in her last 20. She's cashed this line of the under 65% of her games in the last 20, going below this line 13 out of 20 times. Then we can look at the season overall, which again, she is averaging under 2.5, cashing this line 24 out of 39 games for a 62% rate. And then most importantly, because this is a series, this season she's cashed this line 50% of the time. Obviously, last game went to overtime, which adds some additional layers to the production and the minutes. And we see that this line has some last year data, but she is just above expectation here. We're looking honestly at these 4 points here, which is 50%, not the 29% that we see on the screen, because we're not looking at the games from last year. We see 2 green from this season and 2 red. And then, as I mentioned earlier in the video, we're talking about that zigzag. So if she went off the last game with 3, I'm expecting this game to be lower with the deeper focus from Phoenix, especially in the closeout game where they're going to, and if Brown Stewart's out, there's going to be additional eyes on Sabrina, forcing her to be more of a facilitator in this game than a scorer. So when making the decision on this play, keep in mind Breanna Stewart's playing time. Is she playing? Is she not? Was that injury as serious as it appeared during the game? We can also look at Phoenix's defense for 3 points. 3-point made allowed. They average about 5.5, which is in that neutral area. So it doesn't help us, but it doesn't hurt us. We can also see from the insights that Sabrina has failed to exceed 2.5 3-pointers in 6 of her last 7 games at home. And with the pressure of this being that playoff game, we can see the defense intensify, and we can see those opportunities lessen in game 2 tonight, which is why I like the under here. Now, before we get into our last pick, Betr has the Josh Allen free square this week. Plus, new users get $10 bonus and 50% deposit match up to $200 with code DIME. And if you send me your screenshot, I'll give you a free month in my winnable VIP where we've been cashing consistently. Don't delay. Join us now so we can build that roll together. Our last play for today is going to be Courtney Williams going lower than 5.5 rebounds. Courtney is great. The Lynx are arguably the best team in the league and the favorites to win it all. However, lately, Courtney Williams has been struggling to make an impact on the team at a consistent rate. And we can see that in her last 20, she's gone below this line of 5.5, 16 out of 20 games for an 80% rate. We can see in that time she's averaged and has a median of around 5. We can see on the year overall, she's cashed the under on rebounds at a 72% rate, going below this line 33 out of 46. And in the head-to-head matchups, this season alone, she's cashed this line 4 out of 5 times for an 80% rate. And within those games, she has an average of 80%, which is all what we like to see. We can also look at that line and see that this is a huge favorite on DraftKings at minus 160, Caesars minus 167, and FanDuel minus 172. Additionally, Golden State, in terms of their defense allowed or the defense of rebounds allowed, they are ranked 14, which is they average 14 a game, rebounds allowed, which is ranked 4th in the league, which is favorable for our lines because they are a top defense in terms of rebounds allowed, which means that this lessens the ability for Courtney Williams to get those long rebounds. Keep in mind that there's also some big forwards and centers like Alana Smith, Fee, who are going to be clamoring for those boards. And then Golden State also is very aggressive on the board as well, especially people like Veronica Burton. So this limits the opportunities, which is why this line moving up from 4.5 to 5.5 makes this a very solid play on the lower. Now, if you want to dig into the data yourself, as I recommend, because you should never just blindly tell, always do the research yourself, I would recommend checking out Outlier. I would also recommend joining Pikkit. They're my go-to tools for player trends, hit rates, and tracking my slips across apps. Links are in the description if you want to sharpen your edge. Just make sure to use the code LOB when you sign up. Here's our three-piece for today. Natasha Cloud going higher than 7.5 rebounds and assists. Sabrina Ionescu going lower than 2.5 three-pointers made. And Courtney Williams going lower than 5.5 rebounds. Let's lock in, stay disciplined, and ride the zigzag theory bounce back. And as always, let's build that roll.